Dan Pringle, writer, director of K-Shop, Ziad Abaza, star of K-Shop, here to reflect on 5 years since the film was in cinemas, UK cinemas.
Obviously, having the film come out in the Odeon was a lovely premiere, and getting family and friends to come down and everyone to witness that. And then thereafter doing, like you said, the festival run, I forgot now, because it's just the idea of being like, we're going to Poland, and then we're going to Belgium, and then we're going to thing. It's just not, I don't know. It's so hard to think about life that free.
When the film was getting released and it was getting subsequently picked up by all those festivals and the distribution, it was going into all of those countries. Were you surprised by that, or was that kind of a bit of a surreal experience?
Yeah, that was super surreal. I mean, especially when you saw like the Korean and the Japanese posters, that was just like, oh, super cool, you know. And now the Japanese one, that was intense. That was intense.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was intense. Because I remember going on some of the Japanese websites. Obviously, I'm not fluent in Japanese or anything, but I just translate it, and people were just like, oh, it's really different from what the trailer, you know, it's not like they just received the film the way the trailer made out, like this crazy slasher, cutthroat, just like, it
had like a heavy metal sound.
Yeah, it was just so different from what the film actually was. And then a lot of the reviewers were just kind of like, it was so different. It was actually a lot more social commentary and a lot more kind of, you know, more kind of
cerebral.
Cerebral, that's the word.
Yeah. Given that the pitch was Sweeney Todd in a kebab shop, we kind of
set yourself up for it.
We were kind of quite locked to that.
Yeah.
But I felt like I was quite happy with the poster and the main image of you.
Yeah.
I felt like it
represents the film.
It represented the film, and it didn't go too far into territory which wasn't accurate.
Yeah.
And it maintained an element of authenticity and class. The logo and the branding is the same, and the font and the style of it is the same as in the film itself, which was supposed to be the neon lights of the kebab shop restaurant. I feel quite pleased that there's a continuity between the graphic style and you know, between the film and the marketing.
When it probably got released on Sky, I think that's probably when I got the most recognition. One time I was in a restaurant in a kebab shop actually, but it was like a sit down one, and then I just see these two people just, and then when I went to leave, he was just like, "Are you the guy from K-Shop?" And then it was just like, "Oh, I told my girlfriend it was you." So that was cool. It happened again in Waitrose. Someone just goes, "Film," and then I was like, He was like, "Film," and I was like, "Yeah." Film.
English obviously wasn't his first language.
English wasn't his first language. And then I think outside in the streets as well, someone was like, "You go." So it was happening quite a bit afterwards, and I've obviously never experienced that before.
I feel like communities that were slightly underrepresented in terms of acting and that, I felt like it maybe functioned a little bit as a beacon of like, oh, here's this film, and it's kind of, there's not a white guy as a protagonist, and then as a result of that, in certain pockets of London, it kind of became this like, oh, you've got to see that.
Oh, really?
Like, I felt, from what I've heard and then it went on the London TV channel.
Right.
That kind of got that kind of accelerated a little bit.
Yeah.
What about the role of Salah, and you know, how happy are you with what you ultimately came to audition for, and how happy?
Yeah, thankfully on that occasion, quite consistently happy. I think up until that point, just doing like acting in just like other little bits and short films and whatnot, there was always I would say a discrepancy between what I wanted it to look like or what I wanted the representation to be to how it actually comes out. But thankfully, by the time we were doing K-Shop, I think that gap had kind of closed. So I knew how to approach the work in a way that it was true to what I wanted things to kind of, you know, what I wanted to hear, or what authenticity I wanted to hear, or what notes I wanted to hear in certain scenes and stuff like that. So that gap closed. So when I look back, it wasn't a case of like, oh crap. It was just like, yeah, great. That's exactly what I was doing. Do you know what I mean? It was just it was a synergy of intention and results, basically.
I mean, the character goes on such a crazy arc over the course of the film, and I remember, we filmed back to front, so we filmed the older Salah first, and then the younger Salah second, and I remember getting about 2/3 of the way through the shoot and just thinking, you're nailing the emotional significance, and you're finding that balance of where he's at in different moments and different time frames. You're just nailing it consistently, like scene after scene after scene. I think we had a chat where I was just like, you're getting this all right. You're just getting every scene right. You're getting every moment right. You're finding that place, and you obviously created a process that allowed you to just nail every single thing. I remember there's a very specific one. It was when the guys come in and you serve them the human meat for the first time. Sounds crazy that we're even psychologically deconstructing this, but like, and you'd done something in the hotel room before you came to set, and you had big long bags under your eyes, and your hair was kind of wisping up, and I think you'd even said to the hair and makeup, I got this, like I know what I'm doing with this, I know how I want this to be, and you were like clawing at your face, and you weren't really like that for any other specific moment in the story, but in that you just knew this is how he is at this moment. Yeah. I think it's like you got to take it into account, because you don't obviously film everything necessarily in order, but you have to have obviously done the work looking at a script and figuring out what has just happened, what happens next, and as I say, that's not the order that you're doing the work in. So yeah, just realizing that potentially that was like the moment of his descent into like real kind of like crossing a line into that darkness, and just having that kind of it's just so long since I've seen the film now, so I'm kind of like reaching for these memories, like, but as I remember, yeah, that was like a pivotal moment where after that he's just like really in a very dark kind of place where he's really just accepted that reality, so that kind of unhingedness was more pronounced, and that's probably what I went for. I'm proud of what we achieved. There's, likewise, it was my first film, and there's definitely things that where I can see the flaws, or where I can see maybe would have approached things slightly different from a writer's perspective. But as a director, being in that environment for the first time, being in the heat of the kitchen, and coming out with this film that kind of to this day, still has some degree of social and cultural resonance. I don't think I could have asked for much more. Well, 5 years.
Yeah.
Well done, Ziad Abaza.
Thank you very much. You too, Dan.
And make sure to check out K-Shop on Amazon Prime, where it's free, I believe it's free, okay. Yeah. It's included with Amazon Prime these days. If you haven't already done so, go and check it out. Rock and roll.
Thank you.